Love, that ever-flowing liquid fire of light, ever-expanding and illuminating truth, which is always revealed with wisdom, a spiritual nutrient necessary for vitality that is maintained through selflessness, a filter of ether that aids purity, which is love. Love, a limitless paper lantern floating into infinity on the intentions and actions of initiates of the mysteries. Welcome, everybody. We have a special guest today. We have April Miller. April, how are you doing today?
Hi, Ross. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me here.
Well, thanks for taking the time to come on, especially on Memorial Day. It's cool to get to talk with you this way because we've chatted a little bit on Messenger and stuff. So it's cool to put a voice to the face and all that.
Yeah, I agree. And I know we met up through the Positive Head Facebook group, which so many people, it's so amazing, that group, isn't it? It's great.
Oh yeah, it really is great. Like I've gotten to meet a couple people in person from there, and pretty much the majority of all my guests have either been on that show or have come from that group, or like something. There's a lot of good that's come from me being a part of that group.
There is a lot of great people there, and they all help me so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really have a lot of respect and appreciation for Brendan for doing what he's done to create that, I would say, resource really in that community.
It really is. I really did not know anything about spirituality or other ways to look at things, and through listening, him, interviewing different guests gave me, a path to follow. And if I don't like it, I stop and go on another one. But there's always more to dig into, always different, things to look at. And I thank him. I'm so grateful for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing I like. I view it like a buffet style too in lots of ways, where I take what I like and leave what I don't. And it's been something that's been fundamental for me, reshaping my reality, I guess, into a healthier one for me.
Yeah.
So I like to start interviews off typically with asking the guest what they're grateful for. What are you grateful for today?
Well, I think today, especially, we have to say that I'm grateful for everyone who has served or serving in the armed forces on this Memorial Day. Thank you for your service to all of you. And I'm grateful for my life, for love, just for everything, to be talking to you today, and we will definitely be helping someone.
Mm-hmm.
I just know it. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to do that.
Oh, that's awesome. I definitely think that gratitude is such a key to happiness in my experience. And I definitely am grateful for the people that have fought for the freedom and our ability to enjoy our lives.
Yeah.
And
It's a really big thing when you think about it. I think every day we don't give too much thought to it, but it really is a big thing to give. You're really giving of yourself, your whole self, your life, doing that just for us to feel safe and have what we have. So it's really special. And all the families, the wives that are away from their husbands, our husbands who don't get to see their babies being born, they give a lot for us to have what we have.
That's very true. I never actually even thought about the families that are away from their people who are serving too. That's something to be grateful for as well, that they're able to support those people and allow them to do that and kind of have the space and still stay strong. They definitely deserve gratitude as well.
Yes.
What quotes do you feel most moved by, and can you explain what they mean to you?
Sure. The first one is from Nietzsche. That is, that which does not kill us makes us stronger. And this quote, my mom, I could not stand it because she would tell me that for everything when I was growing up. anytime I didn't like it, anytime anything happened, she would say it. Sometimes I even got to the point where I wouldn't tell her something because I knew that was going to be her answer. And it would just aggravate me so much when I was a teenager. But now I really have learned as my life unfolds and, what it is today, that it's true that I'm able to be strong today because of everything that I've been through. So I have to thank her for that now. Thank you, Mom. And Eleanor Roosevelt, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Is also something that everybody should think about and consider. And if, people that feel bad about themselves, and you cannot let that affect you. You don't have to let it affect you. You can own your own feelings and not be affected by it at all. And the last one I have is, I changed this one at the last minute, so I'm going to have to read this off the paper. Sometimes life knocks you on your ass. Get up, get up, get up. Happiness is not the absence of problems, it is the ability to deal with them. So I thought that was pretty cool, because that's true. Life will knock you on your ass, and in ways that you've never expected. And just to get up and keep going is, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, those are really, really good quotes. Yeah, I mean, when you start to expect life to not knock you on your ass is when it gives you like the haymaker, and it really throws you for a loop.
Absolutely. And that's, I had a lot of Zen teaching, and the main part of that, which I'm sure a lot of Eastern philosophies, non-attachment and suffering coming from attachment. And I read it and I kind of understood it, but until you really have to feel it and you really understand what it means to, and now I understand that, more of letting life flow and not holding on to everything, that things are going to end and things, will change and things will happen. But if you don't try to control everything, it'll flow through you more easily.
Yeah, that's been one of the things. Eastern philosophy has been so crucial in the restructuring of my life, and even in the 12-step program that I'm affiliated with. That's one of the huge concepts there, is like not trying to control things, acceptance and letting go of expectations of how things should be. And that really frees you up. The majority of time when I get like miserable or worked up over something, it's because I'm not accepting something, or I have an expectation of how something should be, and it's not living up to my expectation.
Yes, I think everybody suffers with that. So I work on that a lot, just trying to not expect things or people to be any kind of a way, just being accepting of what it is, of who they are, of everything. And I think when you get into the practice, it takes a little while, but once you start doing it, you'll find yourself automatically doing it. I know you talk a lot about neural pathways and retraining, your mind to think, and I could see now that I'm beginning to do that. Like, I'll be more accepting of the situation, not try to force change or force something to be the way that I want it to be.
It's always interesting when you subconsciously like act how you've been consciously making yourself like rethink about things. You're like, whoa, I just did what I've been practicing without thinking about doing it. Like, it's becoming second nature.
Because I've spent a long time being like, I could catch myself after and say, oh, you did it again. But now I can find myself, dealing with it better. I'm like, oh yeah, go me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely had a lot of those moments where I would catch myself after, and then it becomes like you kind of catch yourself in the act, like right before you would react. And then it's like you catch yourself after you did the right thing and you didn't even notice. You're like, whoa, I just handled that like I would have liked to have handled it. Yeah. Like, it's so cool when that happens. It used to be like, oh crap, I can't believe I just did that. And now it's like, oh crap, I can't believe I handled that like I wanted to. How did that happen? Explain who you are and like what you do within any framework that you want to.
Well, let's see. Oh, well, regular by trade, I am a mail carrier, but I have been, because of my circumstances in life, and I've had a lot of big things happen, a lot of loss in different ways. And so now I'm really on a mission. And I want to really change the way that people view grieving, grief, and loss. I can remember, and it's hard because like the method that is used now is from, I think, 1950, in the 7 stages of grieving. It's from a book written by someone who wrote the book intended for people who were dying, for them to go through these stages. And over time, it just became ways, steps, stages to deal with grief. But it doesn't really fit in anywhere. And I experienced the suicide of both of my children a year and a half apart. And I grieved for both of them so differently. And it wasn't in stages or in steps. And the biggest thing that I remember right after when my first son died, I found out, I was just like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. What do I do? And there's no answers, because the medical health community won't tell you what to do. So I was reaching out to parents of lost children, and I was getting just like, you're never going to get over it. And, and just all of these, but nothing that would really help. So, and when my second son, Nicholas, died in January of this year, I was kind of already like prepped a little bit to know what didn't work for me the first time. And I was able to stretch myself out more and look in different directions for help. And that's, after his death, that is when I really started to see things different and said they can be a way. I'm not a mental health professional, so I can say you are going to feel this way, and you can do this to help you. And I'm researching more, and I know that when we first started talking, you were talking about addiction, and I said that I felt like grieving had a lot of similarities with addiction. So the more I looked into it, and it seems like just anything that's a loss, you grieve. So you were grieving the life that you had, the drugs and whoever you drinking alcohol. And when I was a teenager, my bedroom caught on fire, and I lost everything that I owned. It was just in my bedroom, and that was the first time that I experienced a loss. And I could see now that I grieved that loss as a teenager being connected to my things. And, going through Hurricane Katrina, lost everything. And that was my whole life, my whole world, everyone was spread out and separated, and everybody lost everything that they owned. And that was grieving again. But I didn't know it. Like, I didn't know it was okay to grieve that. I didn't think of that as something that you would grieve, but really all losses are moves, breakups, job changes, natural disasters, everything. And when my first son Joseph died, I really didn't know how to handle it. But so I grabbed on to the closest thing. Well, I have to keep going. I still have Nicholas. I have to be there for him. I have to be strong for him. But being strong was not helping me get over any of this. I wasn't progressing I wasn't processing anything. It was just to keep going. And you can't do that for an extended period, because I just broke down again, and I had to start all over with medication and therapy, and because I wasn't really processing any of it. But when Nicholas died, it was like there was no it was more like, I'm not a parent anymore. I don't have to be here for anybody. And I spent a long time contemplating, and should I go on? And not from a depressed, frantic state, but like a clear in my mind thinking, if my children have moved on, shouldn't I be where my children are? And I had to grieve my identity as a mother. I had to grieve both of my children. And then it's just like everything I would start to let myself feel, because I couldn't hold it in. There was nothing, I couldn't. I was just like bottomed out. And I started to just let myself feel. And I think a big part of the fear was how it would feel if I let go and let loose. How it scared me of what I would do. Like I would, after Joseph died, I was scared to leave my house because I was scared I was going to break down, because all I had to go on was what I would see in television and movies, and that people would be on the floor crying, and that never really happened to me. It would come out just in little bits, but I was scared to leave. I was scared to go to the grocery store and have a meltdown or a nervous breakdown. It never happened. It just didn't happen like that for me. But when I sat down and said, okay, I'm going to just let myself feel what I'm feeling, it wasn't as bad or as impactful as I thought it would be. I mean, it might have taken 150 times, and I still do it, because I'll still sit with anger and just like let myself feel the anger. And why do I feel angry? And what I find is it always goes back to love, because I miss them and I love them. That's why I feel angry. That's why I feel sad. That's why, most of the feelings go right back to love.
Yeah, anger is never a solo emotion in my experience, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I know with grieving, it's the loss of a child, anger is a big part of it, and anger and blame is, I see a lot of. And that's because, and as suicide especially, you don't want to blame, your child, because you love them so much and you miss them, and how did you do this? You want it to be somebody else's fault. So you will blame medication, you blame the other parent, you blame the girlfriend or the friends or anything to not feel that, to get that, and just to let yourself feel the anger and say, like, it is nobody's fault. It's no one's fault. That's hard to grasp onto. And, the feeling of loss of control, that I'm supposed to save my son, but I couldn't, and how I can't change anything. All of that is part of grieving, and so it's not grieving in a little package like shock, denial. It goes deeper, but it can be, if it's broken down the right way and you're allowed to process everything that you feel, I think it can be done successfully. And, I've tried many things, energy healing and mediums, and all of that didn't do anything to hurt me. And I found a lot of it to be helpful. I took, like what you were saying earlier, I just take what helps me, and I leave everything else. So, speaking to a medium, and even if she was right or wrong or whatever, her saying that, life goes on after this world, after you leave here. They don't go away. They don't stop. And that just somehow made me feel better, like they were with me. And, I could still talk to them. I could still feel them. And they were still around me. That helped me tremendously. But like a psychologist isn't going to tell you to talk to a medium, or, they'll just say whatever you feel comfortable with. So I will develop something. I'm not sure what yet, and I'm still researching, but I will develop something to help people with that, whether it's a workshop or speaking or coaching or a book, or, I'm not sure yet. And I don't want to put anything out until I am 100% sure, So I'm taking my time. I have a blog, and I write in it when I feel called to, when I feel like I have something to say. So I have a little website just with a blog on it, but I'm doing a lot of research and finding a lot of interesting things. So I will be doing something to help with that.
No, that's good. I really like how you I heard somebody at my meeting today talk about how we don't have to endure what we can face or something like that. And that's really kind of what you said you had to do, because until you really faced it, you were just kind of enduring all those feelings underneath the surface. And then when you faced it, it really gave you the opportunity to process it. And then through processing it, you're able to, I'm not going to say move past that experience, but move through that experience, I guess is the proper way to say it. And put yourself in a position to kind of deal with that pain and then utilize your experiences to help other people go through it. And then it kind of makes, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. I guess I would say it makes your suffering have more meaning in the sense that you're able to help other people, as opposed to just you sitting there and suffering through that.
Oh, absolutely. And it keeps me going sometimes to even think that I can help one person. And you're right. That is what I have always done in the past, is endured everything. And I felt, weighted. And even when Joseph died, I felt already so weighed down by everything, just from enduring and going on and going on and going on, that it just reached a point where I couldn't anymore, and I had to. And then, but when you really start to just let yourself feel it, it's not as bad as you think, because it doesn't all come at one time. It's your mind protects you from that, from feeling everything at one time. So, I might have to sit and feel sad 1,000 times. I might still for the rest of my life, I'm not sure. But when I do, when I let myself cry, I feel, a little better after. And I gain a little power, a little strength from saying, like, I was feeling this way and now I feel a little bit better just from sitting here and, thinking or meditating or journaling, and it gives you a little bit more power. So the next time it happens, you know what to expect already, and you have little more power, and you just go through it, and you give yourself time each day to do that, and then let it go until it comes back again. And it gets less and less. It's like it said a lot that it starts out as big crashing waves, and then it subsides, and it always kind of stays, and sometimes it comes back as a big wave, and whatever might trigger something, a birthday or holiday, but you learn how to deal with it if you take the time to learn how, and you don't just try to endure, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can relate to a lot of that. Although the circumstances are different, learning to face my feelings rather than endure them has opened so many doors to me. And although I still get certain feelings about certain situations and things like that, it's kind of like I grow through the shit in the rainstorms. Like, that's what makes flowers grow, is fertilizer and rain, really, as much as sunshine does too. But I mean, I know that if I'm going through some crap now, or if it's like things are going rough, that a great experience lies right beyond that. And that's the contrast of those different things keeps me on my toes, and it keeps me growing, and I get different insights from different situations that I didn't have. And then, like you said, I get a little bit more strength, I get a little bit more power, in the sense that now I have this other skill, or this other vantage point, or this other perspective that I can share with somebody else and potentially help them navigate through their difficulties.
And also, you can probably see situations coming now and probably handle them differently, because you're now open and you have been through it, and so when a situation approaches that you would have, stumbled into before, what to do already. And that makes you feel good. That gives you a lot of self-worth, to be able to deal with things that because life does get tough. Like the quote, it does knock you on your ass. And
Mm-hmm.
it's how you handle it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I definitely can see myself coming sometimes, or like the way that situations might play out. And it's not that I prepare for the worst to happen, but I prepare for life to happen. And then it's like, if it doesn't go as bad as I think, then I'm okay. And if it does go, then I'm ready for it. And if it's better than I expected, and like, I set myself up to be in the best way to deal with situations. And I'm not always successful in it, but it's substantially better than coming into every situation unprepared and falling on my face and then wondering why did this happen again? Like, why am I miserable? Because I have to do like work on myself every day, really, to keep that psychic trash bin empty.
Me too.
Did you feel like you were different than other people as a child?
Yes, and let me ask this: has anyone ever said no who you've interviewed?
I think one person said like no, but like looking back on it in that moment that they realized that they were different. But yeah, I kind of vie with the people that always felt different as a child.
Yes, I definitely did. I mean, I was always like, I was fine alone, you know, and I was something that, you know, I would be fine playing by myself and being by myself. I think as I got older, I realized it, you know, and it got worse as I got older, is that I was just comfortable by myself because I could really feel, you know, like the people around me, and being in like a social situation. I don't know, I hated it. I had so much anxiety. And I never did feel, you know, my family was Catholic, and I didn't, even as a very young child, I didn't believe everything that they were saying, and I couldn't take it seriously. And my mom would make me go, but finally she just stopped making me go. So I think, you know, that I wouldn't accept that. I was so stubborn, so hard-headed. and I just said, I don't believe it. I just why would this guy is just telling me stories and we have to believe it and you can go to hell? And I didn't buy it, and she just got frustrated and said, fine, don't go. And I always would think, you know, like, is this all there is? Even when I was a little, I would be like, so you just go to work and then you just get a job and then work and die? Is that all there is to it? And I would see like ant piles and feel like, what if the earth is just like an ant pile and we're just all these, like, you know, just like, I don't know, maybe all kids think about things like that, but I think it kind of set me apart a little bit. I think I'm still different today, though, as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
But I see it as a good thing now.
It definitely is. Being quote unquote normal, which I think that normal is a fallacy, but being normal isn't really healthy. I guess it's like kind of like you're just socially acceptable, and it's like I don't really view what's socially acceptable to a lot of people is not socially acceptable to me, I guess. And like, I don't know that I want to fit in with.
But as you get older, you start to see those socially accepted people that they really are not that perfect either. They just hide. They all have a facade of.
Yeah, it's just a mask.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like even in like different like religious groups, I mean, they all go to like, let's just say like one church or whatever, but then they all have their different interpretations of it, and they all have their own kind of dirty laundry about things. So yes. They go put on the facade and they go home and live these completely different lives than what they're agreeing upon. Like, that's one of the good things about being weird and different. I get to be me all the time, and I'm like imperfect, but I'll put those imperfections on the table because that gives me a lot better leverage to be me. And it's like, I don't really have, I mean, I have vulnerabilities, but if I expose my own vulnerabilities, then I'm aware of them, I guess. So it's not really good ammunition. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
if you're living your true self, you know, you don't need ammunition. You don't have to, you know, there's nothing anybody can really do to you. They can talk to you or not talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
If they want to judge you, then you probably don't want them to be talking to you anyway.
Yeah, it's like I've accepted that I'm weird and different, and like there was an episode back in like January. Somebody called me weird after I did it, and I got like really upset. Like I was like, I've worked so hard to not be weird. And I like really thought about it. I was like, you know what? I really am weird. And that's not a bad thing. Like being normal is way more terrifying to me.
Yes.
So you kind of said when you first noticed you were different, but I'll give you the opportunity. It was like when looking at the ant piles you first noticed, or like another instance, or
I think even younger than that, just the feeling that I wanted to play by myself a lot. And we grew up in a neighborhood with tons of kids, and we would all play together. But I would find that I was most comfortable alone. Not that I don't, and all through school, I would have like a few friends, but not like the big giant crowd of popular kids. And I'm still the same way. I have people that are very, very close to me, but not a lot.
mm-hmm.
I just feel like I can't. And my parents would make me go play outside, and I would get mad because I would just be more calm and happy in my room playing by myself.
No, I totally get that too. I've always been kind of a loner. I've always kind of been like the 4 quarters over 100 pennies type person too, in lots of ways. So I totally get that. That's actually one of the things in recovery that's somewhat of an issue for me, is being such a loner. I brought that topic up last week, and some people said some things like, I don't ever have to feel lonely because there's all these people here. And I'm like, my problem isn't that I feel lonely. It's that I feel like I'm in good company when I'm by myself. Like I need to figure out how to incorporate more people in the circle. But at the same time, I'm not Mr. Social Butterfly. Like I could really care less about being Johnny Popular. I was always like on the island of misfit toys in lots of ways.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's where I feel most comfortable.
I think doing that for so long, it kind of gave me a disadvantage. I'm horrible at small talk now. I cannot do it. I don't know how to ask like the surface questions that you're supposed to ask someone.
Yeah, I can't do that either. It's like people will talk about sports and my eyes will glaze over, and then I'll talk about like the mysteries of the universe, and people will look at me like I need to be medicated, or their eyes will glaze over or whatever. I'll find the right group of people. It's like, I don't feel that like you need to make small talk necessarily. It's one of those culturally imposed things. It would be useful for me to learn that though too. Instead of being like, hey, have you ever thought about parallel realities and what parallel you's doing? And people are like, I was thinking about going to get some Dunkin' Donuts. What superpowers do you possess, or what superpowers would you want?
I'm gonna say a very selfish one. I was thinking like teleporting, but now I think maybe I'd like mind control a little bit. That could be very dangerous, but
It could be a dangerous one.
might make my life a little easier. But I feel like I possess resiliency, and strength, and things like that I have gained on my own. So I really earned them and I wear them like a badge of honor.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I have that, but all superpowers are great, like being invisible or teleporting. I'll take all of them.
Yeah, I really do feel that like everybody kind of has superpowers, and I think that it is something that like you gain a lot of them through the difficult times in life and how you cultivate the resources to overcome them. And it's just that they're just not viewed as such in our culture.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I definitely think resiliency is key. That's something that we share in lots of ways, different circumstances. But for me, having to piece reality back together after having it shattered for so long, and like,
right.
Definitely not easy to do, but it can be done, just like what you've been through and your perspective on it. we were talking a little earlier how a lot of people don't kind of share the same way that you've dealt with things, but that's the thing that really sets you apart from a lot of people, and not in a negative way or a good way. It's just that's how you deal with it, and that's a very strong thing for you to be able to do, because you kind of had to go that path alone, because there's not many people probably that share that you bounced ideas back with, I would assume.
No, it's, the first time with Joseph, I find, a few people, but when it was both of my children, there really was nobody that I've ever spoken to that has had that same experience. So I did have to rely a lot on myself and finding ways to deal with it and answers that I wanted on my own. That
Mm-hmm.
caused me to really have to look deep and research a lot to find out, how to maneuver through that.
Mm-hmm. No, I can relate to that too, because it's not like there's a lot of people that go around like, yeah, I was psychotic for the better part of a year, and now I am back ingrained or back into culture, and like I'm happy and I'm relatively sane. Like, so it was definitely a very isolating and lonely process to like get back there, but that journey has been one of the things that's really made me who I am, I guess, too.
And in your future, that's going to stay with you. Everything that you're learning now and doing now, you're building a foundation for a great life, a great future.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Yeah.
going to be able to handle whatever comes at you. You're going to have the tools to handle it.
No, absolutely, and you will too. And like, I really feel as well that like you were probably like me in the situation when I personally got out of the psych ward, where you're like, I don't want other people to have to go through this experience alone like I did, and not have somebody who's been there and tell them that it's okay. So you can kind of be that hand for somebody else that may go through that experience and say, this is what I've been through, and I know that a lot of people can't relate to this, but I've been through this, and this is what I've done after that point. Like, my life didn't end there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think that that's really important.
Yeah, and after, the first time with Joseph, I didn't feel like, my therapist would say, you should write a book about your experiences, or you should do this. And I didn't feel like any kind of like, what do people get from me? What do I know? I'm not doing so great, but lately I felt like I do know. I do see the differences. I do have something to share. I can help people get through tough times, and I hope, I know that I am going to get the opportunity to really help people and make it not easier, but just different. I mean, I don't think it's supposed to be easy. Life isn't supposed to be easy, but people should have more options, you know, more opportunity to feel things in a different way than in just 7 steps and, venturing on their own, or to find a different perspective than the one that's common.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's a fair point too. It doesn't make it easier. It gives them a different path to go down, because it's kind of like, no matter what the situation is, really, there's this pre-packaged concept of, this is what this is, or this is how you should deal with this, or this is how you should feel with this. And like in the mental health label, because that's what I have experience with, they say, if I have this condition, these are the symptoms, this is how it's going to be for the rest of my life. This is this, that, and the other thing. So then it like boxes me into, this is how I deal with it. And you're like trying to like open up the box, or like burn the box down and say, you can process it how you want. It doesn't have to go in this linear fashion. It's going to be completely different for everybody. It's not like a systematic thing, really.
Right. And I know that because from the 2 times that I've been through it, I handled it completely different. I went through it completely different. And just like you said, that it comes with, when you will get a book on child loss or grieving, and or look online for it, comes in a prepackaged box. Your life will never be the same again. You're gonna grieve this loss forever. And it's really like a hopeless, like, oh gosh, I don't know, what's the point of all of this? I'm just gonna feel like this forever. And there's nobody to say, you could be, and people will say, like, in 5 years, you may be able to feel joy again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to not feel joy for 5 years.
Yeah.
And I don't even know why I would listen to anybody, but I just didn't know. I was just searching for something to give me some kind of a way to deal with it. But when I got the way, I'm like, oh, no. I'm going to have to find a different way of dealing with this and, burn the damn box down. And, and so that's what I did. And I do feel joy. I do feel sadness. I feel everything. I can feel immense amount of appreciation for everything because of the immense amount of loss I felt. And it's, I could feel very happy because I felt very sad. And it's the way it's everything. My whole life is like that now. Like, I'm grateful when I go to work, and I'm grateful to have a job and be alive and do everything and have a family and have people that care about me and for everything. And it's just because, when I could be, like, I lost everything. I don't have anything. But I guess it's just all the way that you want to look at it.
Absolutely. This might be somewhat of a difficult question, and it's not on the thing. Before the experiences with your children and the suicide, what was your life like prior to that?
It was just normal, working and, doing all the things that just people do. And it wasn't very eventful, or, we had their father moved to a different state. So we didn't really like fight over custody. We would have equal, shared time, and they would come. And Joseph was older, so he was an adult. So he would just come over whenever he wanted and knew he was always welcome in my home. And we were a blended family. So, 4 kids and all different ages and just normal. But a part of me always felt like I would never have grandchildren, or I would never see them get married. I just couldn't see it. But I thought, really, inside of myself, thought that I was going to die, because it's like you never, ever, ever think about your child dying. So I like accepted the fact that I was going to die while I was young. I even would tell people sometimes, I know I'm not going to live to be old. I know I'm not. Because I always thought it would be me. I never imagined. And it is an unbelievable experience and unreal and surreal. But before the end, I was really unprepared for it. So I guess I lived, a bit of a sheltered life in not having experienced death outside of my grandparents, because they were old and, were ill and old. And so it's hard I didn't feel an immense sadness and a wrongfulness about it. It felt natural. So I was completely unprepared and I didn't even have a guard up. And Joseph, for a few months prior, he did tell me that he attempted suicide before that. And I said, well, come over here. Let's get you some help. Let's get this figured out. And I knew nothing of suicide, nothing. And, I would cry when Robin Williams died, and, but that's no closeness to it, no ties to it. So even when he would say, like that felt like the worst moment of my life when he told me that he tried to kill himself. It felt like my heart dropped out. I was sobbing. And I said, but we're going to get it worked out. It's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And it's just like he started going to therapy, he started taking medication, and like everybody was so on edge and wanted him to be okay, because it's hard to imagine a 21-year-old who's very good looking and you know, has the advantages of suburban middle class, and he worked and he was very into fitness and working out, and he had a ton of friends, and you know, he was just loved by everyone. He was the oldest grandchild, the oldest of the cousins, and he was about to start college, and he had 2 jobs, and you know, just what you would think, you would never think that. And I don't know, and I still don't know what would make somebody want to do that. Like what the pain, because you can never feel what somebody else feels. Like I can tell you my pain, but you can't feel my pain. So when he told me what was hurting him, and it was a breakup that he just couldn't get over. And so you think like, oh, your first girlfriend, you know, your first breakup, because they were together all through high school. And he just, I guess nobody expected, I don't know. But I think at some point, like, and then everybody, he was starting to like do better and go out again. And he even, you know, went on a date with another girl. So everybody in the family's like, oh, he's getting better. But now when I look back, and as much as I've read about suicide, sometimes when people do that and they make up their minds, they exhale, they're relieved, because they know that their suffering is going to be over. So now looking back, I think that in this situation that he knew that he was going to do it, and he knew not to tell anyone, not to let anyone know, because he really wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. So it's hard when people ask me, did you have any idea? So I mean, yes, but no, I didn't think. I knew he was depressed. I knew how to break up, but everybody has their first breakup, and it's hard, and you don't feel like you can go on, but everybody does. And yeah, I don't know. So yes, I knew he was suicidal, but I never thought he would. And Nicholas was a completely different story. I mean, and then having to tell him, you know, he was 14 at the time, tell him his hero died, you know, the person that he looked up to more than anyone in the world, his whole world, you know, and he just couldn't grasp it. He said, I was going to spend the summer with him. We were going to work out together. We were going to spend the summer together. And it like crushed him. It crushed him. He was never the same after that, never, you know, and then suicide became prevalent. It became right in front of us for our whole family. And we had to talk about it, and we had to. And in some ways, it became a way out. It became a way out of pain, you know. And I know that Nicholas, one day we were driving in the car, and he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, I'm having a bad day. You know, sometimes days are good, some days are bad, and yeah, I'll be okay." And he was still sitting there quietly. I said, "Are you okay?" He said, "Sometimes I get scared that you're going to kill yourself." I said, "Sometimes I get scared that you will." And so we made a pact to each other that no matter what, that we would always reach out for each other. So the same way in that he was trying to deal with the death of his brother, and I don't know, the same way, you know, he was depressed, and I was also shocked because he didn't tell me. He didn't reach out, and I felt betrayed by that, because I know many times I felt like I didn't want to go on, but I remembered that we said that, and I would think, what would that make him, what would that do to him, you know? And so betrayal was a big part of what I felt, and anger, and just, I felt everything, and that is just when I felt everything. And there was no more holding it back, no more enduring, no more just trying to, it just came out. It had to all just come out, and I had to just start over completely.
That's kind of when like the levee broke really for you at that moment.
Yes.
What it sounds like. There's a couple things in there that like, I noticed that you said that you always felt like you were going to die early. And that's something that I felt in my own life. And this is kind of like a philosophical or spiritual question in some senses, because I assume that your life is completely different. And now that it has a lot more meaning in some ways than it did before, because you said it was like very routine, I guess, in many senses.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like philosophically that you did kind of die in that sense, and that you were born into like a new purpose, like a new person in lots of ways, even though you're physically still here?
Absolutely, 100% completely. I feel that way
Because
because
that's, go
I'm
ahead.
not the same as I was. I don't handle things the same. I don't, nothing is really the same about me. I don't feel like life is a routine anymore. I feel purpose in life. I feel a lot of things. It's like the world has opened up to me, and then not that it's hard to put into words because I don't want to give the impression like my life is great now and everything is better. It's just different, and I don't feel like I'm going to die young anymore. And I think I was really feeling like, kind of like a premonition. And like after Joseph died, I had this severe post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety that somebody's going to die, and I would feel it all the time. And if I think I was feeling, now that I look back on it, my therapist is like, it just happened, so you're going to feel like that, and it will subside, and just think that every time you think about it that it didn't happen. So finally, it took like 6 months before I would not constantly think that somebody in my family was going to die. But then I was like, I think back now, and like, what if I knew? Like, what if I was feeling that for a reason, and I was just told to, just let it go. It's just anxiety. Don't think about it. So yeah, absolutely. I see everything differently now. I appreciate things more, and everything's different in my life.
Yeah, I mean, that really is kind of what the concept of the spiritual phoenix is like becoming a whole different person from our difficult experiences in lots of ways. I kind of thought that was what you would say, which is why I wanted to go down that route. One of the things too that I really like I mean, obviously it's difficult, but I like how you pointed this out, because I think people have this concept of what someone who commits suicide, what they would look like, how they would act prior, or things like that. And he had lots of good things going for him. Good looking guy, well liked, all this kind of stuff. And that stuff doesn't really matter if internally you have a lot going on. And I think that's so important for people to know. There was a suicide in my family when I was, I think I was 5 or 6 years old when my aunt took her life. So I don't really remember a lot of the details. But I kind of lost my train of thought where I was like trying to tie that in. But like, I think that people have this perspective of what the person that would go down the suicide route looks like. And there is no specific thing. It can happen. Anybody can go down that route, I guess, is really what it is.
Yes, and you never know. And he was kind of quiet, not like outwardly expressive, but I would always think that he was honest in showing his feelings and talking about what was bothering him. So I never really, I guess I would have, put suicidal people in a box. This is what you look like, and your life is all crap and everything's bad, and then you think about it and you do it. But really, I mean, who knows why anybody does it? I can't, and that's a question, like, why? You can drive yourself crazy asking why. There is no answer. Why? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he had a lot of other stuff going on that he was not telling anyone. Maybe just that was too hot and too much for him to handle. Maybe he felt it in a way that other people don't feel it. There is no answer to why. There is no what it looks like. There is no, I think that's why, I'm not to the point yet. I kind of went down my own path about grieving to try and help other people more than the why people, complete suicide. But I don't know, there's theories, and I don't know. It's hard for me to and even I think it would be hard for me to say, look out for this, because I feel like people could say to me, who are you to know? You know, that happened to you twice. So, you know, because I did, after Joseph died, I read everything about suicide prevention, what to look for. Nicholas had the number for the suicide hotlines, crisis numbers, you know, always keep an open channel with them to, you know, and again, I thought like everything would be okay. And again, I was wrong. So there is no, I don't know what to look out for. And so I don't try to help in that way.
This is a question that's difficult for me to ask, but I feel that it might be something that might help somebody else process something. On a very spiritual level, I don't know what your mentality is towards soul contracts or things like that. Do you believe in those, like where people kind of sign up for certain experiences?
I'm kind of open to it now, not ruling it out. I don't read too much about it, but I think it makes sense. A lot of the spiritual and universal stuff and us being infinite beings, a lot of it makes sense, and I like it, and I like those theories, and that, I will see them again in another form and interconnected and will always be connected. And I like to think that. And a psychologist did once tell me, she said, nobody really knows. So who cares what you believe? If you want to believe that you have a soul contract, if you want to believe that they sit in heaven and watch over you, if you want to believe that they're sitting right next to you, who cares? What does it matter? If it helps you to deal with it. It makes you feel better. It does not matter. And I think I'm more of that, like, yeah, whatever, soul contract, sitting next to me, everything.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to kind of test the waters before I ask this, because it's difficult for me to ask, but do you feel that they kind of went through that experience so you could kind of have the experience that you're having now to kind of help guide other people to find themselves after similar experiences, like kind of like you all agreed to this prior and then here you are now living that out because it kind of pushed you to a place where you wouldn't be otherwise?
I sometimes do feel like that because I've had a lot of things happen in my life, and I never really opened up to seeing things in a different way, or never saw myself in the way that I do now. And it literally, it felt like I got beat on the head and wake up, and it took all of that for me to get to where I am today. All of that. I could have learned it many, many, many years ago, but I didn't. I practiced Zen Buddhism, and I would go, weekly, if not more, and participate in the ceremonies and practice at home every day and read, and none of it sunk in to me. I don't know, I could do it and I could meditate, but I couldn't feel it. I couldn't really feel a lot. And it took all of that to make me feel. And yeah, so it was like a big hammer across my head, or a big, drop to my knees, and just absolutely, yes. But I don't know if it was, if that happened for me to be able to do that. I think that's pretty extreme. That's a lot of shit happening over someone's life. But who knows? Again, who knows? And it helps me to think that, it helped me to become who I am, and that I will help other people. I think that's part of why it's so important for me to give of myself and to give what I have been through in any experience in any way. That, I think that's a part of it. I have to help. I have to give back. For
absolutely.
Anything, because then what is it all for if I don't make use of it? If I don't make use of the experience and knowledge, what was it all for?
This is an analogy or like a metaphor. I have a culinary arts degree, and one of the things that really sets a a chef apart from other people is being able to take like the leftovers, the scraps, and the stuff that's about to turn bad or spoil, and then using that in the special, basically. So it's like you kind of take like the worst stuff or your weaknesses or whatever, and you turn that into your gift in lots of ways. And I think that that's so crucial for being able to be happy, because you either can focus on the problem or you can focus on the solution. And it's not that you're ever going to solve what happened in your life, but you can solve how you feel about it to an extent, and how you cope with it, how you deal with it, how you face it. And that makes all the difference in the experience, I would say.
Yes, absolutely. And there is, I don't know, with child loss, it's very easy to make yourself like get into that thinking that a lot, like the majority of people have been through that feel like that's your identity. Now you're a bereaved parent and that's all you'll be. And I heard someone say it may have been Louise Hay, that that's the best situation to put yourself into victimhood forever, you know, because you can always go to that. That's who you are. You know, you can make that. And, you know, I'm sorry I snapped at you. It's my son, you know, whatever. Use it in any situation. And I think that's what happens to a lot of people. They just become comfortable with that, and everything that they do is okay because of that. But I don't know. I can even see it in the way that people treat me now. You know, like they're more easy with me. I'm like, that's not necessary. I'm still me. I'm okay. I'm not, you know, don't treat me any differently. But I see how you could fall into that and just be that. So it takes a conscious effort to not be that. You have to work to not be that. Because you can blame that on pretty much everything. I could probably be addicted to drugs and my family would still take care of me and support me and say, well, she's lost both of her children. You know, I could use it in any circumstance and it'd probably be okay, and, you know, I would get a pass. And so I could see how it's hard to not stay in that, but I see the benefits of not using that as a way to live the rest of your life.
No, I totally get that. I mean, for me, it's like with mental illness, there's that whole thing where I could say, I have this mental illness, so this is just how I'm going to act. And I am a recovering addict, so this is how I'm going to be, and this is how I'm always going to be, and there's nothing that I can do about this. One of the things early on in my recovery, I reached out to Brandon from the Positive Head podcast, and I wrote him a review. And I kind of told a little bit of my story, and he's like, you know, start telling new stories. He's like, maybe you were mentally ill or had some mentally, thinking about it's kind of making me tear up because it was so like crucial for me changing my life. He's like, maybe you were mentally ill or had a few mentally ill moments. Who hasn't? That's not where you are now. Like, be where you want to be. And it falls back into like that prepackaged concept where, okay, well, this is just how, this is like, I'm a TV dinner and this is just how you serve it up. So in all these instances, I'm going to be this way because I have this quote unquote bipolar label or whatever it is. And it doesn't serve me any good. It becomes a Achilles heel if I fall into that trap of identifying with it. And it doesn't mean that I don't treat myself for the condition, even though they don't know that I have it. Like, I still take care of myself like I may have whatever condition, but I don't get the cop out on myself and say, oh, I have this is how I'm going to act. And not to say that I didn't at some point, and not to say that it's not okay if that's where people are at this moment. Right. That's totally cool, but it doesn't have to be that way forever, which I think is so crucial, because as soon as you start to fall into that victim thing, you'll be as victimized as long as you want to be, and you'll be the victim as long as you want. I recorded a 1-minute clip about being the victim or being the victor, and the whole concept was essentially like, any situation that I get in my life, any difficult thing, I can be the victim and I can curl up and say, I'm done, this is just how it's going to be, or I can work my ass off to try to overcome it and do the internal work and all that kind of stuff.
And that's really where the reward lies. When you do that and you can overcome it, that's when you get the best feelings and the best, you know, everything, the best life.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's which path is going to allow me to feel the best and to process things the best and to be in the best mindset to experience this thing. One thing that I found really fascinating is that you kind of practice Buddhism, and like I look into Buddhism, I look into Taoism, I look into like all those different Eastern philosophy concepts or whatever, and I find those to be so crucial for dealing with our modern world. And I don't want to put down other religions or spiritual beliefs or something like that, but it's kind of like a lot of the stuff that's practiced in the West is devoid of this practical application and the ability or the tools or the resources within it to actually empower people, I guess. In lots of ways, a lot of Western stuff puts everything up to this higher than or whatever, and you have no participation in how you feel. Well, that's just the way it is. This, you know what I mean? It's that same victim mentality.
Exactly. And that is something that I feel that put me at a little bit, not of an advantage, but I didn't have and you know, people did tell me that a lot. I still do hear that a lot. You have to give it to God. You have to give it to God. But, and then I feel so bad for people who do that, who have lost a child and they say, I just give it to God. Because then when they go through it, they don't ever get strength or power, or I'm going to give it to myself and deal with it myself and then have that to lean on.
Mm-hmm.
If you only have an image of something that is non-tangible, I mean, then you're always going to be giving it to God.
Mm-hmm.
You're never going to gain the knowledge, the wisdom, the experience, the fortitude to keep going.
Yeah, and it's like I feel that giving it to God is like half of the equation, because it's like the non-attachment concept of it, but then it takes out the own internal work of it because they take no responsibility for it. It's like in the 12-step recovery program I'm on step 7, where I'm looking at my character defects right now, and I'm humbly asking my higher power to remove these character defects. Now, I really struggle with that because for me, I have to do a shit ton of internal work to remove these character defects. And it's not to say that my higher power won't help them be removed from my life, but it's not, I just don't get to passively be like, take these defects away, wave your magical higher power wand at me, and I'm better. It's like, no, I got to sit there. I got to meditate. I got to focus on these things. And then the book I'm using is like, it uses neuro-linguistic programming, where I kind of minimize the defect and then accentuate the opposite, like the positive character trait that I'd like to instill.
Yes.
That's a shit ton of work. So it's like my higher power may give me the ability to work through that stuff or whatever it is. But it's not, like I said, it's not just like they wave the magical higher power one. You're perfect now, Ross. Go right ahead, you know? So
that is very Eastern, that it does take a lot of work. This might be too old for you to remember, but the Karate Kid and Mr. Miyagi, like all of the medial tests and all the hard work that he had to put in to gain, you know, there was a point to it all. And, you know, like, your higher power is really being yourself. Your higher power will kick your ass and say, you need to do the work. And you get the reward for it. You get the lesson. You learn the lesson from it. Mm-hmm. And that is, I really, really believe that. But I don't discriminate against anybody having any religious belief that they have. I just hope that people would at least try to empower themselves a little by, you know, going through it a little bit and at least just testing it, being open to trying to take a little bit of it and, you know, going through it. And then once you feel the strength of that, you say, oh, okay, I see why I should deal with this, you know, but I don't know if I didn't have that. So I don't know what it is to rely on that because I never really had it to begin with. So I don't know. I guess it's easy. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to judge.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I
giving
mean,
to God might mean something different than I even think that it means. But I don't know why. When people tell me all you can do is give it to God, I'm like, why? Why? What is that going to help?
Mm-hmm. No, I mean I agree. Like I'm an omnist. I think that every religion really does have good possibilities in it, and there is good stuff in all religions. Really, there's little bits of truth in all of them, I guess. And I would never put down somebody's beliefs, but I think a lot of times people do make themselves too small. And it's like humility to me, it's not about being a speck compared to this higher power. It's saying this higher power works with me when I work with this higher power or whatever. And I mean, I don't know what religion it is, but there's like that saying, God helps those who help themselves.
Yes.
So it's like I can't get help from my higher power unless I do some work on myself, because otherwise he's gonna be like, dude, come on, you freeloader, you spiritual freeloader, you gotta pull your weight.
Any belief, any religion that you are, you can still incorporate, Eastern philosophy or just spiritualism into that. It doesn't. I like that about the Eastern religions. That was what first made me like it. It's like you don't have to be anything. We're not asking you to, pray to anyone or devote to anything. You could be Catholic and be Buddhist, and
Mm-hmm.
it's more like a way of life than it is. So you could still be a Catholic and still feel like you give it to God, but still, take some of the lessons and empower yourself with them.
No, I agree completely. I believe it was Alan Watts who said something along the lines, well, you can be a Christian Buddhist. It's just like in our culture, we view Buddhism, some people view it as a religion, or like that they're followers of Buddha, but Buddha wasn't a Buddhist. He was just a guy who had these like this way of looking at things, I guess. I'm going to try to get back onto the questions now. I had to take that tangent because like I thought that there was a lot of value in those questions, and I feel that like your answers and the conversation was definitely worthwhile. So I kind of feel that you answered what circumstances shaped your life in some senses. Would you say that we've covered that?
Oh, yes.
Okay. And the positive lessons that you learned from negative experiences. How about that? Do you have anything else you'd like to add onto that topic?
I think we covered all the questions. I don't know. I learned just about gratitude and, suffering because of attachment. And, I learned to love more openly and, to give of myself and my time and to open up my heart to people more, and just how much just being there for somebody can help, just to listen. And I never understood that before, but I understand it now, how important it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. What songs or bands have lyrics that most resonate with you at this moment?
Well, mostly I have to say I listen to podcasts now, but Brandon played a Beatles song on one of his episodes, and so it put me on like this Beatles tangent to that, and I could hear like the words mean different to me now than it did when I would hear it before. Not that was a little before my time, but my dad still liked to, he could play on the guitar, and so I knew these songs, but they never really meant anything to me. And I listen to them now, and like "Let It Be" is beautiful, and the message is really the message that people now today are still saying.
Mm-hmm.
Wow! So it just sent me off on this revisiting everything, Fleetwood Mac and Led Zeppelin, and I've been listening to all of that if I listen to music, but.
And those are definitely classics for sure.
Yeah, and if when you listen to them and I was a kid, it didn't mean anything. But now I can get, in different stages of my life, hearing them, it would mean different things. And I listen to it now, and it means something different. My mind is just blown open by all of the things that, like all the stuff I learned in Zen Buddhism. Now I see like oh, now I get it. Now I see what you were saying and everything that my mom told me, like, oh, okay. I'm telling you, I was really hard-headed. And it took a lot for me to say, oh, so I like that with the songs too, when I can rehear an old song and think, oh, okay, now I get it.
Yeah, I definitely get that way too. I actually thought I had my Led Zeppelin shirt on, which is why I was lifting my shirt up a couple seconds ago. But apparently, I was an adult and I changed my shirt. But I was listening to the Beatles yesterday, and it really is something that, like, a lot of that older music, and I mean, it's still true in modern music, but there is like a lot of spiritual concepts or stuff like that, and especially with the Beatles, there's a lot of like Eastern philosophy or like those kind of things in there. And it's like, when I heard Let It Be for the first time when I was younger to when I hear it now, completely different. And like,
It bored you when you were younger. You probably did.
no, I used to like the Beatles. My dad listened to like all that stuff growing up. So like when I was growing up, so like it was meaningful to me because my dad would always play it and we'd like sing along in the car or whatever. But yeah, I really like all that stuff as well. I'll try to get through these last couple questions quickly so you can get back to your day. What's your life's purpose now?
Giving and helping other people, teaching, and being a living example that there's a different way to handle things and that you can be okay doing things outside of the box. So just being that example and living that, and helping people for sure, as many people as I can, as far as I can reach.
No, that's awesome. I really think that you're very well suited for that with your experience and your personality, from what I can gather from this interview. So,
well, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. I've read your blog before too, some of it, and you're very good at expressing what you're going through. And I'll be sure to put a link for your blog in the description of this episode as well, if that's okay with you.
That's fine, thank you. And the thing about the blog is I'm not really a writer, so I can't just blog every day. And I can't, if I start to blog and I say like, okay, I'm going to start debunking the stages of grief, and I try to like intellectually write, I can't. It just has to be like when I feel it, I could just type it out, and I don't really edit it. I don't go back and rethink it. I don't research it. It just what comes out of me. So I can't consistently do it. I have to wait until I get a feeling and feel passionate enough about it. So that's why I'm really taking my time and developing the way that I want to help, because I think that I thought like maybe blogging was it. And when I started, it's, my website is Lost My Child to Suicide. And that was because of, 5 months ago or 4 months ago, that's how I was feeling. I don't want to be that anymore. I want to be aprilmiller.com, somebody to help people. I don't want to be lost my child to suicide. So I'm evolving, and, so it's like, maybe writing a blog isn't what I'm, maybe it's a podcast, or maybe it's coaching, or maybe, so I feel like I want to try them all out and see and I think I'm going to find the right one, and it's going to just take off. And
no, absolutely. And that really is a thing. Like, you do have to play around with it and try those different things. And it's like, when I write, I write when I feel like writing, and I don't write when I don't feel like writing, and I don't force anything, because to me, this is an outlet and it's a way that I want to help people. But if I'm trying to force myself to do something, it's not going to be helpful to me, and it's not going to be helpful to anybody else either.
Exactly. That's what I found. When I was forcing myself to do it, the information wasn't as good. It wasn't heartfelt. It wasn't as passionate. It wasn't helpful. So why do it? So I don't force myself anymore. If I don't feel it, I just don't do it. And
I think that that's a really good approach. I think that you're on to something with that. So you kind of said what your purpose was, and I feel like you kind of answered what you need to be doing to feel like you're working towards that goal too. Is there anything like you like to add to that? Like, what do you need to do to feel like you're working towards your goal?
I feel like I'm pretty, like, I want to be thorough and researching. So I read a lot, and I join a lot of Facebook groups and online groups, and just to see, when I talk to people and see different people's experiences. So all of that, and I develop something that, before I teach something or give information to somebody, I want to make sure that I'm doing it. So it's hard to stay with, sometimes it's hard to stay with a meditation practice. Sometimes you don't feel like doing it, really, and, being mindful and, watching your thought patterns, that's so I make sure I work towards all of those things. I'm working on myself while learning what I want to help other people work on.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally get it. Yeah, I mean, with like the mindfulness stuff and all that, it's something I have to practice often too, because for me personally, like if I don't do that for a bit, I can be just as like miserable mentally or just as like crazy as I can get sometimes very, very quickly if I don't keep persisting at it.
Very like down and not want to get out of bed and just like, I don't feel like doing anything, very quickly, just like you're saying, but I have to kind of like stay on top of it and make time for it every day and work on it.
Mm-hmm.
See, when you start being able to see the results of the work, you see that it's worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like Brandon says, it really is like a daily conscious effort of doing that kind of stuff.
Most definitely.
Hold on, my phone screen's messed up and I don't know the next question off the top of my head.
Help you out with that.
I got it here. Okay. If you had to describe your personal philosophy or condense your life experience into a few words, what would it be?
Now you see, I didn't even write anything. Oh, don't ever stop growing. How about that?
That's awesome. Quick little tangent, and I'll get into the last two things. When I originally started this, when I originally wanted to start my website and talk about my experiences, it was pretty much right after I was psychotic the first time when I lived in California, and I was trying to do a self-help for my girlfriend at the time, now ex-girlfriend, because I thought I knew so much about how to like put your life back together, even though I just got out of the psych ward and I was like miserable and all this stuff. And it was originally called Here We Grow. And it's interesting now to like see how much I've grown from that and how I've actually stuck to it. So it's like, I didn't give up. I did just keep growing. So those words really are true,
Yeah.
Who inspires you?
People who, single mothers that get up and go to work and work 2 jobs. People like you who stay clean and keep going to meetings, even though it would be so easy not to. You and my brother, I know we've talked about that before. Everybody who, Brandon, for consistently doing a podcast 5 days a week just to help people, and really anybody that's working towards something and bettering themselves, and that is what inspires me. Like you and Nixie and Brandon and everybody, and Jessica Drew with her children's books. Those are beautiful. And I mean, that inspires me that that I can do it and keep going, and I have a support system, and so a lot inspires me now.
No, I definitely can relate to that too. So we're at the end now, and I ask people to kind of close with how they want to close or whatever. So I'll leave the floor open to you to close however you want, if you like.
Okay. This is just for you. We're gonna end this on a light note. Okay. And anybody that follows you on Facebook knows what you've been posting lately. You are completely obsessed with puns. So we're going to have this little poem for you. I dig, you dig, she dig, we dig, you dig. The poem may not be beautiful, but it's certainly very deep.
Don't believe. Don't follow. Do not consume. Do not watch. Largely what I'm talking about here is reclaiming experience. This is what's been taken from us. It's a self-advancing, self-expanding, self-defining process, and it takes no prisoners.
The real world isn't a spiritual world, it isn't a material world, it isn't an empty world, it isn't a solid world. It's simply